First valve body we're going to modify today is the 1967, 68, 69 valve body. This is most commonly used as a replacement for the green dot valve body. We've taken it out of the transmission already and cleaned it up a little bit just to make it the viewing and our operations a little easier for you to follow. Gerald's going to start by taking the filter off, and these have the long filter bolts in them. We set this aside. This is a great time to put a new filter in. The remaining bolts that have the 5/16 heads are all the same length. We flip the valve body over, we'll take two 7/16 head bolts off and set these aside. We'll actually use these for alignment later. Flip it back over. Now we'll remove the top. That way we won't lose any check balls. Now, the casting on the left is the first place that we will do our operations. We'll take the two retaining plates off and just set those aside. Now we're going to drill our separator plate. If we look on the instructions, we'll find out which orifice we're going to drill. Set the gasket aside. We'll match that up with a new gasket. Now if you trace on the instructions, you'll see that this, where Gerald has his drill, is the orifice to be drilled. That's our third gear apply. We drill that to a max of 1/8. Anything larger than that does not do any good, and we'll just leave it at 1/8. Make sure you take a drill bit and make sure there are no burrs or anything in the hole that you just drilled. Now, the next operation, we'll set that casting aside. We'll remove the one check ball that's in there and we'll put that aside. Now we're going to go to the heart of the valve body itself. The first operation we're going to do, we're going to change the two regulator springs that are come with the kit. One is a gold one and a yellow one. Those are put in together. So we'll do that operation first. Now there is some spring tension under there, so be careful when taking these bolts off. We'll remove the two springs and the boost valve and the boost sleeve. Now it's important that you reassemble those two items thoroughly all the way back together. The boost valve inside the sleeve is sometimes a little difficult, but be patient with it and make sure it's all the way back in. A little grease to hold it in when we go, to put it back together, we'll hold it back in there. So we will replace the two springs. And Gerald's going to put a little grease on that so that it won't come apart on assembly. It's important when you tighten the plate at the end of the pressure regulator that the plate does not extend past the casting itself. All right, we're going to move on to the 1-2 accumulator. In this operation, we're going just to remove the spring. This will firm up our 1-2 shift a bit. There's also spring tension under that plate, so be careful. There's two valves. There's actually a spring that we're going to remove, and then there's a small pin that goes inside the aluminum sleeve. Those two can go back in together. A little grease on those wouldn't hurt either. All right, we've actually completed all the necessary modifications to the valve body. There are a couple springs that are part of the valve body kit that we're not going to put in. If you are satisfied with the way the timing of your shifts, that's fine. We'll leave the shift springs alone. Or if you have some damaged springs, you can replace them with the 2 springs that are in the kit, but they are not necessary. They're certainly optional. Now the next important step is check ball placement. This valve body requires 2 check balls, 1 in each half. So Gerald's going to show where the first one is in the valve body part. Second, on the casting part. And both of those balls go in what's called a bathtub. They look like they sit in so they can actually go back and forth between each side of that bathtub. Now you can use a little grease to hold them in place. That's fine too. Now we also took out a small black check valve on some valve bodies, and Gerald can point out to generally where that might be in the valve body.